Yo, what's good, my fellow Magic Knights? It's your boy DEADMANVINCE back with yet another Black Clover mobile video. If you guys have been enjoying the content lately, please do go down below and marry on the thrash that like button. And you can also hit that subscribe and hit that notification bell so that every time I drop a video, you can get notified and unleash your hostile mana. But today, I wanted to talk about an interesting concept that I think it would be kind of ridiculous if they didn't implement this into the game. And we're going to be talking about dual units, and I'll be breaking down what I mean by that and kind of giving my examples as to how they could like work them into the game. But let's go ahead and get right into the video. So, what do I mean by dual units? By dual units, I mean like units that aren't just one character, two different characters, maybe even more characters if they really wanted to. But I'm just making the point that there have been so many different situations in Black Clover where they've had to team up to face enemies, and they're literally they're literally Magic Knight squads, and the Magic Knight squads don't even always go all together to do a mission unless it's like some Spade Kingdom level type of like raid type of mission, right? No. With the Magic Knight squads, they typically will send people in little groups to handle missions. It's not like the whole squad goes out to handle one mission. Now, even more so than the Magic Knight squads breaking up into little individual groups, what's more so interesting to me is the concept of rivals in Black Clover. Yuki Tabata likes to emphasize the power of rivalry in the series all the time. There's literally, when you first start the story, that was like surpass your limits is like the catchphrase of the show, because Asta, Yami say that all the time, and that's like everybody's like favorite characters. But rivals, that's a even bigger, like more solid concept in the series, because at first when the game was at first when the show had started, everybody was like, oh, this is my rival, I'm trying to surpass this motherfucker. But you even get down to the Spade Kingdom arc where Zenon even had like a background story where he showed off his rival, and yes, it was his friend, but even still, that person that was trying to push him to surpass his limits, that was a rival in that aspect as well too, because he pushed Zenon to become even stronger. And honestly, he didn't push Zenon to become evil, but the situation that Zenon was put in caused him to be evil as well. So his friend changed him in multiple different aspects. I just don't want them to make dual units and then have them think, and this is more so what I was thinking at first. I just didn't want them to make dual units, and then whenever they make a dual unit, they don't make a character, like individual units for that specific moment, which that wouldn't be good for the game, because people would want the individual characters by themselves, because there are some people who just like Yuno, there are some people who just like Asta. There are some people who, when Yuno and Asta team up together and do some crazy combo against whatever enemy they're fighting, they're really not that impressed by Yuno, they're just more impressed by Asta, and vice versa. So definitely don't take away the individual units from certain moments, but let me give like a little example here. In the first arc, or not the first arc, technically the second arc. The first arc is like the Magic Knight Entrance Exam arc, and then the second arc is the dungeon arc. When they're in the dungeon arc, Asta and Yuno have to team up to fight this man, Mars, right? And I don't want to, I'm not saying that I want to have the first Yuno and Asta in the game, and when I say this, the first Yuno with Bell, the Wind Spirit, and the first Asta with his secondary sword. I don't want these two's first variant in the game to be a dual unit together. I still want them to have separate individual units. But think about it like this. While they're releasing the story, it could be like Asta finds his artifact, and as soon as Asta finds his artifact in the story, boom, that Asta drops. Honestly, no. They could do 2-part events where a version of each character drops on the same banner. You can summon for them together, or on two separate banners. Hopefully not two separate banners, because I prefer them not to monetize the game as much as they possibly can, like Netmarble did with Grand Cross. But they could have two banners, and the first banner could be the two units together, and then for the second part of the celebration, whatever the celebration would be, they could have a banner with just the dual version of the unit, and the dual version of the unit would not necessarily do the same thing that those two units do together. And I actually have like a makeup like card to kind of like give an example to what I'm talking about. But the dual unit would definitely function a little differently than the other two individual units. This way they can kind of increase the amount of characters in the game without really making extra characters, if that makes sense. Because if you watched my other video where I was talking about doing collabs and doing extra supplementary story and everything, I'll link that video up above. Check that out. You remember I was talking about how this game can be a very long and successful game, and Black Clover is a long franchise, a decently long franchise. But at the same time, if it wants to be held in the same regards and the same respects as Dokkan Battle and even Grand Cross, really, because that, I feel like that's the direct competition that they're going against. And I feel like, honestly, Black Clover Mobile will clear that before, you know, the first year is out type of deal, especially with the amount of campaigning that I wish to do for that game. But another game like One Piece Treasure Cruise, where they have millions of characters, they've been going from like hella long, and people are still playing to this day, and, you know, people can make all types of crazy team comps in those games because there are so many different characters over the length of the game. So doing ideas like 2 separate units for the first half of a celebration and then a dual unit, it's not even lazy. It would be lazy if we just got a dual unit first and nothing else after that. People don't complain about things that introduce new concepts into the game because they introduce new concepts into the game. People complain about things that introduce new concepts into the game because it seems to me that developers tend to lack or forget about other concepts that were trying to be emphasized upon and built upon, but all they have to do is implement it into the game correctly, right? Now, next I'm going to actually give you a breakdown for like a dual unit that I kind of created to kind of give you an idea of how these dual units would work. Okay, so I have a dual unit kind of like set up for Asta and Yuno. And I call it Rivals Since Childhood, Asta and Yuno, because, I mean, that's how they are. They were literally dropped off at the orphanage together. They've been rivals ever since that one incident where Yuno almost got robbed. But also, just thinking about it now, the guy who tried to rob Yuno, I understand that Yuno's necklace looked expensive. What if the guy who tried to rob Yuno was actually from the Spade Kingdom and he was trying to do some fuck shit? Anyway, the tags for Asta and Yuno. Now, instead of going the Dokkan route where they put units together and their categories are only categories that both of the units would be in, I would prefer that they do it in a way where they give all the tags to the character that each individual unit would be in. At the very start of the game, it's actually not, because just imagine having an Asta and Yuno unit that didn't work well with a Black Bulls or a Golden Dawn team just because they wanted to categorize the characters that way. I think that would be stupid. I think that would be ridiculous. They know the method for making better team building habits, and definitely categorizing people the other way versus the way that I categorize them right here, that's not going to be the best option for team building. It's going to give us much more diversity for team building. All it's about is making the game funner for the player base, basically, realistically. For their first skill, I was thinking kind of like an attack where Asta does a counter stance with the Demon Dweller sword, and basically with that counter stance, they would reduce damage that they receive by 50%, and then Yuno would literally pop out from behind Asta and attack the enemy, and the attack would scale off of the max MP of the Asta and Yuno unit. Now, why does that make sense? Because Asta can literally deflect magic in the show. So that's where the first half of the counter comes in. And then, how many times have we seen Asta and Yuno fight together? Now, typically, it's not like an Asta runs up, protects Yuno, then Yuno kind of like gets his like ground back, runs up from behind Asta. They're always fighting on like an equal level, it seems like. Now, there was that one time, like the first time that they were fighting together against that man, Mars. And Mars literally swings, what is it called? Gladius? Is that the name of it? The giant sword that he does. Or is it called Leviathan? But he swings the sword at Yuno, and Yuno's wind magic is too weak to deflect the sword, and then Asta literally had to cut the sword in half. Then Yuno was right there with him, and they was like back in the fight, right? That's the type of like vibe that I'm going for with an Asta and Yuno card. Then, for the third skill, I have it deals a little bit, damage based off of maximum MP again, a little bit less though. But since Asta, so this one would be like Yuno blast you with like some wind magic, wind blades, whatever you want to call it, because he didn't learn Spirit Dive at this point. So more than likely some wind blades. He would do 20% of his maximum MP, or whatever number. It would be a little less than the other card that I just explained. It would deal, I guess, 20% less of max MP to enemy, and diminishes the enemy's MP relative to attack. So that means that Yuno would be the first attacker in the turn, and he would do, a good amount of damage, some decent damage, because Yuno has hella mana, right? And he can always throw more attacks out. Then we have this man Asta following up on Yuno's attack, which honestly, low-key, it kind of seems more like that's how they like kind of fight. It seems more like, since Yuno has much more maneuverability, he will kind of like work his way around the enemy and get the enemy to a point where Asta can kind of like sneak in. And I'm not saying that Asta can't fight enemies on his own. I'm just saying, at least at the start of the story, that's how it looks like their dual fights were kind of like formulated. They had a very good mindset about what the other was capable of. Yuno knew that when Asta gets close in, he can do some real damage, plus he can negate any ability that they have. So close range battle, you know that Asta's got that. So more so, it looks like Yuno is fighting the enemy his hardest, because they always are competing with each other to become the strongest, to become the Wizard King. But at the same time, they can be childish when it comes to that aspect of themselves. But when it's to a point where they're fighting, like when they're fighting Licked, they know like, okay, power of rivals, yeah, that's cool. I want to be the top dog here in this fight, but also I'm not trying to die because I need to protect the kingdom right now. So let me get serious, sync up with this man Asta, right? You know, and Asta's mentalities, right? So definitely a kind of way where the cards are set up in a way that one unit handles the enemy, and the other unit kind of like comes right off the other unit's like heals, because that's literally how Asta, are with their team working like aspect. Their ultimate attack would be an attack that deals 50% of the maximum MP to a single enemy, and then seals MP based abilities for 2 turns. Now, that sounds really, really OP, which it is. Anti-magic should be OP in this gacha game, and I feel like disabling magic abilities, like, even though it sounds OP right now, but you gotta remember, not every single person in Black Clover fights with just magical abilities. Now, a big multitude of them do, absolutely, but some people do enhance their own physical strength with their magic, and some people's attacks would be based off of, physical attack stats rather than magical attack stats. Like, look at Luck. Yes, Luck does put armor on his body, but he still runs up and does the damage physically to you. So his magic just amplifies the physical strength that he has. So that's why this card would be overpowered. This unit would be overpowered, but not too overpowered, because even early on in Black Clover, you already meet other people who fight physically more so than with magic. Literally examples: Yami, Luck. Magna does more so fight with fire. He does this little fireball, but he also has that move with the bat, and he also did fight that man. He did have a fist fight with that man Dante. So later on, Magna would be more so of a physical, melee close range type of fighter. But there are plenty of people in the series who don't just use magic, but can enforce themselves and kind of put their magic into enforcing themselves so that they can fight physically. Then their passive would be the power of rivals. Now, the one thing that Asta and Yuno do religiously in the series, no matter where they're at, is always like influence people to surpass their limits, no matter what the situation. Literally, like Asta, like I said, Asta and Yuno knew the severity of fighting the elves, but even still, Yuno said, Asta, what are you gonna do right now? Asta said, I'm gonna surpass my limits. That's literally all they do, bro. And Asta isn't the type of person to shit on someone who's not surpassing their limits. More so, Asta will surpass his limits, and then when you don't, he'll look at you and say, that's fine, I'll just surpass my limits even more. And then he starts fighting, and then the person that he says that to looks at him and goes, damn, this man was already on the line, this man just jumped over the line, and I can't even get to the line right now. Let me surpass my limits. Literally, it's like you gotta think, Asta has no mana, Asta is a peasant. So I feel like everybody kind of takes that to an ego thing, really. Like, everybody looks at like, this peasant with no magic is doing this much and I can't do shit. Hold on, basically, right? So, and then Yuno, also categorized as a peasant, even though he's not really. But since he was a peasant and he was so much stronger than so many other people, you literally have the guy who has no magic, who's cursed, but for some reason he can just do whatever the fuck he needs to. And people are upset about that. Then you got the guy who's a peasant, but his magic is stronger than everyone else's, and he has the 4-leaf grimoire, and he's the blessed one. And everybody's mad because he's the blessed one, even though he's a peasant, right? So these two always influence people to become stronger and push past their regular capabilities. This passive would be either all basic stats increased by 15% for all allies, or for Junior Magic Knight allies. Then I also have, this isn't all together by the way, this is just like separate ideas that I was thinking of. This could be another part of the passive, but also you have to remember that units could possibly have two passives. We have a lot more time before, or not a lot more, but we have time before the game drops, so we still can't 100% confirm how the multiple slots look on the character page and how the skills will work and all that. But you know, for now, I'm making a safe assumption that they will have multiple passives, and another one of the passives that they could have is negates 30% of magical damage and increases mana recovery rate. So that doesn't sound too OP, but just think about it. If you're in a fight and most of the spells that are coming at you, or most of the spells that are coming at you are like ranged mana type of spells, not physical attacks, then you're gonna be taking little damage. I'm not saying little to no. Well, I mean, depending on how built your unit is, little to no damage. Not to mention, you'll be recovering your mana fast as hell, so you'll be popping spells left and right? So that definitely is pretty OP passive. This is a pretty OP kit, if you ask me, to be honest. And this is only OP because I don't know 100% exactly how the units will look. Once we know how, like, bro, once they drop the first unit and we see how they're built, I'll be able to kind of like speculate on things like this a lot better. But before we end the video, I actually did just want to take a moment to talk about all the other units that they could kind of incorporate into a dual unit type of thing. So we already talked about Asta and Yuno. Obviously, those guys would kind of play off of their anti-magic and then Yuno having crazy-ass mana, high-ass mobility, that type of thing. Then we also have Fuegoleon and Nozel. Those guys would be a very, like, first of all, they'd be a very strong unit just because they're both captains and they both have really good offensive capabilities with their magic. But also, they would be crazy defensive because this man Nozel can literally form his Mercury into a shield, into anything that he needs to. And Fuegoleon literally has that move that he does. We already saw it in his character animations where he makes that firewall and he can kind of like shield himself from enemies. But they also would have high destructive capabilities because this man Nozel could literally have like AoEs that just rain like Mercury needles on the enemy team, or Fuegoleon with his Soul Linea. They haven't incorporated Soul Linea into a card just yet, you know. Then we also have Magna and Luck. Now, I don't see them. I mean, yes, they could drop a Magna and a Luck from the Veto fight, but oh man, it would be so great if there was like a Magna and Luck from the Veto fight that was a dual unit and they were posed up the exact same way they were posed up in the episode, in the opening, like all that, bro. That would be phenomenal. But Magna and Luck, and I feel like that they would have just really good synergy because fire and electricity typically is a lot of like DOT. So that would be a type of unit that after they make that unit, you would know their exact like purpose, you know, a debuffer. Maybe Luck has a debuff that can like fuck with like people's magical attack power. Magna has a burn debuff that's just constantly lowering people's HP, you know, just all kinds of possibilities. Who else? You got Yami and Vengeance. Shit, they could literally make a Asta and what's his name? Leopold card if they wanted to. Like, bro, there's so many different choices for dual units that they can make in this game. But Asta and Libe. That's the last one. Because, I mean, their powers work off of each other, yes. But, like, still, to have them as a separate, just, like, dual unit would be super cool, I feel like. But that's going to be it for this video today, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy. That's been your boy, DEADMANVINCE, as my Discord notifications go off at an alarmingly high sound frequency. But that's going to be it for your boy, DEADMANVINCE. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did enjoy the video, then please do go down below and Marioliona thrash that like button. And you can also go down below, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that when I drop my video, you can watch it and unleash your hostile mana. But that's going to be it for your boy, DEADMANVINCE. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. And I'm just going to go ahead and let y'all know now. I got a few more on the way. Peace.